What's up, guys? Hockey Dude 1940 here. We are back with another episode of our Let's Talk NHL series, and it is official. The Los Angeles Kings have been eliminated from playoff contention. They will not be competing for the Stanley Cup this year in the 2015 Stanley Cup playoffs. That is unbelievable. I just finished watching the game between the LA Kings and the Calgary Flames, and the Flames, they did it. Johnny Gaudreau, Yuri Hoodler, those guys have been unbelievable for them this season, and they came up clutch again in this game. They beat them 3-1, and with that win, the Calgary Flames clinch a spot, and the LA Kings are done. The LA Kings, the defending Stanley Cup champions, the team that has won the Stanley Cup twice out of the last 3 years, they're not even in the playoffs. Oh, it looks like I'm going against another Rangers fan here. But the LA Kings, they're gone. Oh, man. I'll get into this more in a second, more in depth. But my initial reaction, I love this. I absolutely love that they have missed the playoffs. Fine, we'll go with Toffoli. I love that the LA Kings have missed the playoffs. Not just because I'm a Rangers fan and we obviously lost to them in the final. Not for that reason, just because of all the hype around them this season. Will they be the current day dynasty? Will they go on this huge run? They're the team to beat. And all the bandwagon Kings fans that just jump on for the ride. And I saw some really funny pictures on Instagram about that. But saying that the bandwagon's empty, it's in trouble. But I don't know why I paused it. But all the bandwagon Kings fans, now they're going to be sitting there like, wait, what? They didn't make the playoffs? Well, what did I go and buy a Kopitar jersey for? They were supposed to be the best. It's I love that the California team that was supposed to be the dynasty team. I love that they didn't make it, and not just because of that, just because that's the way the Kings have always been. They've always been that team the last 4 or 5 years where they don't have the greatest regular season, but they come into the playoffs and they just dominate. They play a style of hockey that fits the playoffs, not the regular season. So for them to just completely miss the playoffs and not even get a chance, that's just hilarious to me. You have to play both seasons. There's two seasons in hockey, and they didn't show up for the first one. They just had kind of like a brain fart of a year. I'll run by their stats in a second. Let me just try to snipe it with Tyler Toffoli. And, he actually got me. How did he get me with that stick? Cam Talbot. What's it called? Stephen McDonald Extra Effort Award winner. But I'll run some stats by you guys. The LA Kings, they were 8th in the league and in goals against. They were 8th in the league for goals against. That's pretty good. That's how the LA Kings are. They've always been that team. They're really tough to score against. They're a tough defensive team, even though they don't have the greatest defensive core. But of course, Jonathan Quick, who had a pretty off year for them, even though he was one of the better players. But they were 8th in the league for goals against, which isn't bad, obviously. But goals for, they were 20th in the league for goals for. They just didn't score enough goals. Guys like Jeff Carter, Toffoli, Gaborik, Kopitar, these guys just didn't step up and have, the incredible seasons they were supposed to have. And that leaves question marks with their team as well. Guys like Marian Gaborik, if you guys remember in the offseason, they signed Marian Gaborik to like a 6-year deal. He still has like 5 years left on that deal. And he's already, 33 years old, 32, something like that? Is he a guy that they hang on to? This guy, Justin Williams, is he gone? They have some questions to answer there in LA. And the biggest thing, the Andrej Sekera trade. They traded for Andrej Sekera before the trade deadline. They gave a Roland McEwen and like a second-round pick or a third-round pick, something. Or maybe, actually, I think it was a first-round. Yeah, it was a first-round pick. They gave up a first-round pick and a defensive prospect, Roland McEwen, for Andrej Sekera, a rental defenseman, which I don't know if they'll be able to re-sign. But that didn't end up, that didn't work out. They still ended up missing the playoffs, which is just astonishing. But another interesting stat, they've known for months now. I remember them talking about it, back in January, mid to late January, that the LA Kings needed to start picking it up. I made a video months ago, asking or about a month ago, or I think it was over a month ago, saying would the LA Kings make the playoffs? And it was hard at the time to count them out, but now it's real. They missed. the playoffs. It's crazy, and now there will officially be a new Stanley Cup champion. All those teams like the Anaheim Ducks, the St. Louis Blues, the teams, that the Kings have been the thorn on their side over the years. They don't have to worry about them now. In Chicago, they don't have Patrick Kane. It's all wide open now for teams like St. Louis, Nashville, Anaheim, maybe even Vancouver, Minnesota. It's time for these teams to step up and show what they've got, because this is their huge chance right here. The Sharks as well, they missed the playoffs. This is the year if these teams are going to step up. This is the year to do it. But another thing, about adding on to that about them knowing for months, their last 10 record is 5-4-1. I'll just choose the Calgary Flames because they're the team that knocked them out. But their last 10 games are 5-4-1. So it's not even like they went 8-1-1 or even 7-2-0 or 7-3-0. It's not even like they went on a tear at the end and made it close. They were still about 500 at the end of the season. They didn't even, they just didn't. They just didn't push hard enough. I don't know. I didn't really watch any of the Kings games this year, mainly just because they're on so late. I would like to know from you Kings fans in the comments, what really went wrong with the LA Kings this year. What was their biggest problem? Are they just too slow of a team, or they just, Giordano's not in it. We'll just go with our Russell. Sure, why not? Where's Dennis Weidman? Is he not in here? Where's Dennis Weidman? There he is. What was wrong with them this year? Were they just in a Stanley Cup hangover? What happened with the LA Kings this year? They ended not ended the year because they still have one game left, but their last two games, they've lost both of their last two games in regulation. It's really tough. I'm sure it's tough to swallow for those true Kings fans. And one big stat, not saying, well, actually this could have really, changed their entire season based on just a few points. But their shootout record this year was 2-8. So they won 2 out of 10 shootouts this year that they participated in. Some teams did a lot worse, but they were one of the worst teams in the league in the shootout. And that's the shootout. I'm not a fan. I'm a fan of watching shootouts. I think they're cool to watch, but I'm not a fan of the whole a team losing points just because in like a skills Yuri Hoodler missed that in a skills competition. I just don't think it's right. You see a team like Boston right now. They're back in the they're on the outside looking in now. Their record in the shootout is 4-9. So imagine just a couple of those shootouts were wins, they would be in a playoff spot right now. It's just the shootouts really could have helped out the LA Kings. Even if they won half of the shootouts that they lost, that would be 4 more points added on, and that would bring them up to 97 points, tied with Winnipeg and Calgary and Vancouver as well. So it's I don't know what exactly went wrong with them. All I know is that, wow, Hoodler is really bad at it. He gets beat up high a lot, doesn't he? Yeah, he just doesn't make saves up high, I guess. But let me know, Kings fans, or even any of you guys who know exactly what happened with the Kings this year. It's still crazy to wrap my head around that the LA Kings are out of the playoffs. Teams like San Jose missing the playoffs, and Colorado after the amazing year they had last year, and even Columbus not making it on the terror of a run they've had over the past month or so. There have been some surprises, but the LA Kings missing the playoffs. Who would have thought? I remember back in December, people were saying, "Oh no." Like, yeah, they have a bad start to the year, but they always do. They're gonna come back. They're gonna make it. They're gonna be a Series Cup contender. Well, guess what? They're not in it. It's crazy. But actually, I didn't bring the screen up because I actually forgot. I thought about it about a minute into the video, but I'm actually going to check out some of the LA Kings individual stats. It's kind of a weird year this year for player stats, just because there's nobody really in the league that is really it's just leading the league. I know guys like Crosby, Tavares, these guys have like 80-something points, but I'm talking, in previous years, the NHL has had 100-point guys and guys battling for 95, 100 points. This year, there's not gonna be a single guy to hit 90, and that's horrible. I mean, I heard that they're gonna make the nets bigger. They're gonna try some things out to bring up the goal scoring factor. But the LA Kings, looking at their players' individual stats, they really didn't have anybody step up and have a point per game season. Honestly, Kopitar, as of right now, is their top point getter at 64 points in 78 games. And when you compare him to other players in the league, he's still in the top 30 for league in points. But they just, and then Carter's behind him with 61, and then you drop down to 47, 46. They got goal scoring from a lot of different players, but I don't know, man. I don't know. They did only miss by a few points, and there was the whole Mike Richards problem, but that doesn't really show how that doesn't really reflect on how bad the team was. I mean, Andre Sekera, he only played 16 games so far for the Kings, 4 points plus 4. The LA Kings, they're out of the playoffs, out of contention. That it is, and for the next year, it's still, or not year, until the end of the playoff. That's still going to be tough to wrap my head around. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video, guys. And brace yourselves, because this year there will be officially a new Stanley Cup champion. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next episode.